I've worked night security for years. Factories, warehouses, hospitals, nothing scared me. But that changed the night I saw a man standing in the darkest corner of the warehouse, perfectly still, watching me. I thought he was a trespasser at first. But the more I looked at him, the more I realized he wasn't supposed to exist. My name is Daniel, and last winter I took a temporary night security job at a massive import warehouse on the edge of town. The building was enormous, 4 floors of storage racks, forklifts, sealed loading bays, and long echoing hallways that disappeared into darkness. The day shift had more than 50 workers. At night, it was just me. The first thing I noticed that night was how unnaturally quiet the warehouse became after midnight. No traffic outside. No humming machines. Just faint metallic creaks as the building settled. Around 1 a.m., my radio crackled with static. "Control to Unit 3, you copy?" I lifted it to my mouth. "Yeah, go ahead." But the voice cut out. Just static, like someone whispering under it. I shrugged and began my first patrol through aisle 9. My flashlight beam cut across stacks of crates and the shiny metal shelves. That's when I felt it, the sense of being watched. A heavy, suffocating tension in the air. I told myself it was just the building settling. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. At 2:14 a.m., I heard it. Clear as day. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Echoing from the far end of the warehouse. I froze. The chamber was supposed to be empty. I radioed control again. Any workers scheduled late? Static. Nothing. So I followed the sound. Every few seconds. Tap. 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 Like someone walking barefoot on concrete. But the moment I reached the source, the noise stopped. I swept my flashlight over the racks. Nothing. I turned to check behind me. And nearly dropped my light. On the dusty floor, stretching across the aisle, were fresh footprints. Bare feet. Long strides. Leading toward the dark storage room at the back. My heart kicked into overdrive. Someone was in here. Or something was. The footprints led directly into storage room 14, the oldest room in the building. It had flickering lights and half-broken shelves. We usually kept it locked, but that night, the door stood open. I stepped inside slowly. The air was ice cold. The fluorescent light buzzed above me, flickering every few seconds. I scanned left, empty. Scanned right, empty. Then I moved my flashlight to the back corner. And my breath caught in my throat. A man was standing there. Tall. Thin. Completely still. Face hidden in shadow. His head tilted slightly as if he was watching me, or listening. "Sir," I called out, "you're trespassing. I need you to show your hands." No reaction. Not even a breath. I stepped closer. My hand hovered over my taser. "Sir." The light above me flickered violently. Went out. Then came back on. The corner was empty. The man was gone. But the footprints. They were now directly behind me. I bolted out of the room, slamming the door shut. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the radio. "Control, come in, there's someone inside the building." This time, someone answered. A terrified whisper. "Daniel, don't move. He's behind you." I spun around immediately. No one there. But the operator kept speaking, panicked, breathless. "I'm looking at camera 14, you're standing in the aisle, and there's a man right behind you. He's just standing." "What man?" I whisper-shouted. "He's tall, thin, and he's not moving at all." A chill crawled up my spine. The operator continued, voice breaking. "Don't turn around. Just walk, slowly, toward the exit." The radio cut out. Dead silence. When I looked up, the CCTV camera above me slowly rotated on its own and pointed directly at the dark aisle behind me, like it was watching something I couldn't see. I forced myself to walk, fast but controlled. The warehouse lights began flickering one by one. Click, click, click. Sections turning dark behind me as if something was following me through the aisles. I reached aisle 4 and froze. The footprints were back. Fresh. Wet. Leading toward me. Then I heard breathing. Deep, ragged breathing. Just beyond the shelves. I swung my flashlight and caught a glimpse of a shadow sliding between the racks. Not walking. Not running. Sliding. Like it wasn't touching the floor at all. It moved closer. And closer. And then a face peeked out between two crates. Pale. Long. Eyes too wide. Mouth slightly open like it was silently screaming. I stumbled backward in pure panic. That thing didn't blink. Not once. The entire aisle became colder, and the lights overhead dimmed as if something massive was absorbing all the warmth around me. I ran. I sprinted toward the emergency exit. Alarms blared as I slammed into the door. It wouldn't open. I hit the push bar again. Locked. Behind me, the lights were going dark one after another, chasing me. I pounded the door with my shoulder. Nothing. Then I heard it. A whisper. Right next to my ear. Stay. My entire body froze. Not from fear, but because something cold wrapped around my ankle. I screamed and kicked wildly. The emergency lights flashed red. The door suddenly clicked, the lock releasing by itself. I didn't think. I didn't look back. I ran through the parking lot until my lungs burned. When control finally contacted me, they swore they never called me earlier. No operator admitted speaking to me. And CCTV footage for that hour? Corrupted. White static across every camera. I quit the next morning. 2 weeks later, the warehouse shut down for structural safety concerns. But I know the truth. Something lives in that building. Something that waits in the dark. And I still dream of that corner. And the man who was standing there. Perfectly still. Watching me. I worked the night shift at a small roadside motel in Kentucky. Nothing fancy, just a quiet place for truckers and travelers to crash. But there was one guest I'll never forget. He checked in at 2:13 a.m., soaked from the rain, wearing an old denim jacket and carrying nothing but a room key from another motel. He barely spoke, just stared at me with eyes that didn't blink often enough. By sunrise, his car was still running in the parking lot. But he was already dead in room 9. That wasn't the horror. The horror started after he died. When he kept calling the front desk asking for another night. I'd worked at the motel for almost 2 years. Nights were predictable, drunks, tired families, the occasional truck driver too exhausted to keep his eyes open. It was raining hard that night, sheets of water slapping the glass door, when a man walked in at 2:13 a.m. He didn't look like the usual guests. No luggage. Clothes drenched. Hands trembling. Face pale, almost gray. He slid his ID across the counter without saying anything. The name read, David Wyatt. I made him a keycard for room 9. He didn't ask about checkout time. He didn't ask about Wi-Fi or breakfast. He just whispered, I only need a few hours. Whatever happens, don't knock. I laughed awkwardly, thinking he was joking. He didn't smile. Not even a twitch. He walked down the hallway, dripping water with every step. After he left, I glanced outside. His car was parked near the dumpster. An old, beat-up blue sedan. Headlights off. Engine running. I waited a few minutes, expecting him to come back out to turn it off. He didn't. At 3:30 a.m., I stepped outside to check. The rain had softened to a drizzle. When I approached the car, warm air blew from the vents. The radio was on, nothing playing, just static. Inside the back seat, I saw a child's backpack, a single sneaker, and an old motel room key from another state. Room 9. The same room he just checked into here. A chill went straight through me. Something was wrong. Around 4:10 a.m., the motel phone rang. The caller ID showed Room 9. I picked up. Before I could speak, a man's shaky voice whispered, "Can I get another night?" It was him. David. I told him it was fine, he could pay in the morning. He didn't respond. Just breathing, slow, uneven. Then a click. Call ended. 5 minutes later. Room 9 called again. Only this time, when I answered, there was no voice. Just the same radio static I'd heard in his running car. And behind it, something like a child humming. At 5:40 a.m., a housekeeper named Maria knocked on my desk. "Someone's wrong with Room 9, she said. "I smell something." My stomach dropped. I grabbed the master key. We opened the door. The room was freezing. The air conditioner was blasting full power, even though the remote was unplugged. David Wyatt lay on the bed. Stiff, pale, and clearly dead for hours. The worst part? His phone was still in his hand. Screen cracked. Battery dead. There was no way he could have called me at 4 a.m. But he did. Twice. Police arrived within minutes. They moved fast, questioning me, securing the room, covering the body. While they worked, the motel phone rang again. Room 9. I froze. A detective heard it too. "Don't answer," he warned. But the ringing wouldn't stop. Over and over. Non-stop. 10 times, 15 times. Finally, the detective unplugged the entire landline. The ringing stopped. We all exhaled, relief, fear, confusion. A few seconds later, my cell phone buzzed. Unknown number. I picked it up. Same static. Same humming. Then the same broken voice whispered, "Please, just one more night." For days, police investigated. Their conclusion chilled me to the bone. David had died around 1:30 a.m. 45 minutes before he even checked in. Security cameras showed him entering the motel. But the footage was corrupted. Static. Humming. Just like the phone calls. The child's backpack in his car? No matching missing child report. No fingerprints except his. The motel key from another state? The place had been demolished years earlier. Even worse? Every night since. Room 9 calls the front desk around 4 a.m. Even though that room has been locked, gutted, and sealed. What does the voice say? Always the same thing. Always that same broken whisper. "I just need one more night." And every time I hear it, I check the parking lot. The blue sedan isn't there. But sometimes, I swear I can still hear its engine running. I took the night shift at a small family-run restaurant because the pay was good and the hours were easy. But what they didn't tell me was that the restaurant had a basement. A basement no one ever went into. A basement with a door that stayed locked. Even though something inside kept moving at night. One night, the door was found wide open. And something had crawled out. Something that whispered my name. Even though no one alive knew I was working that shift. The restaurant wasn't fancy, just a quiet, local diner off a rural highway. Every employee warned me about the basement. Not because of ghosts or legends, but because it was unsafe and off limits. But the way they said it didn't feel like a safety rule. It felt like fear. Real fear. The owner, Mr. Harrison, told me on my first day, "Stay upstairs. If you hear anything from below, ignore it." It's just a building settling. But buildings don't settle by knocking 3 times. Or by whispering. Or by dragging heavy objects across concrete at 3 a.m. My job was simple. Clean tables. Restock drinks. Lock up at 2 a.m. Set the alarm. Leave. Easy money. But around 1:40 a.m. my third night, I heard something. Knock. 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 Slow. Even. Coming from the basement door. I froze. It wasn't wind. The door was made of thick steel and sealed tight. I walked over, put my ear against the door. Silence. Then a whisper slipped through the crack at the bottom. I know you're there. I jumped back so fast I almost fell. I checked the parking lot through the window. Empty. Checked the security cameras. Nothing on the basement feed except darkness. But someone, or something, was definitely down there. 5 days later, on a stormy night, the restaurant was dead. No customers after midnight. Rain hammered the roof like fists. At exactly 12:47 a.m., the lights flickered. Then everything went black. Even the emergency lights. Only the tiny red exit signs glowed faintly. As my eyes adjusted, I heard it again. Not knocking this time. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Coming up the basement stairs. My chest tightened. I reached for my phone, dead. Spinner battery. Great. Then I saw something that made my blood freeze. The basement door handle slowly turned on its own. Once. Twice. Then it stopped. A few seconds later, the power came back. The handle snapped back into place like it had never moved. But I knew what I saw. The next morning, I confronted Mr. Harrison. He went pale instantly. You heard it, didn't you? He whispered. I nodded. I expected him to laugh it off. Instead, he sat down like his legs gave out. He told me the story. Years ago, the diner had a maintenance man named Earl. A quiet, harmless guy. The kind who never spoke unless spoken to. One night, Earl went downstairs to fix the water heater. He never came back. Police searched. Didn't find a body. Didn't find signs of a struggle. Just nothing. An empty basement. The owner swallowed hard before saying, People say Earl never left. Some nights he walks around down there. And if he hears someone upstairs, he tries to come up. I wanted to quit on the spot. But I needed the money. A week later, it happened. Not knocking. Not whispers. Not footsteps. The door opened. It was around 1:55 a.m. I was sweeping by the counter when a gust of cold air hit me. I turned. And the basement door was wide open. A pitch-black rectangle leading into darkness. My hands shook so bad I dropped the broom. I stepped forward and saw wet footprints on the floor. Bare footprints. Leading out of the basement. And stopping right behind where I had been standing. Then I heard it. A voice behind me. Right behind me. Still working late? I spun around. No one there. But the air smelled like damp concrete and rust. And the footprints were drying fast. As if someone had just walked through them moments earlier. I lasted exactly one more night. Just one. I was closing up, hands shaking, glancing at the basement door every few minutes. At 1:33 a.m., the kitchen lights flickered. A cold draft rolled across the floor. Then, knock, 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 followed by a whisper, low and hungry. Let me in. That was enough. I grabbed my keys, ran outside, didn't set the alarm, didn't even lock the door. I sped out of the parking lot with tears streaming down my face. The next morning, the owner called me. Not to ask why I quit. Not to ask about the alarm. not even to ask why the front door was wide open. He just said, "Did he talk to you?" I hung up. Blocked the number. Never went back. But sometimes, when I drive past the diner at night, I see the basement door cracked open just a little. Like something inside is still trying to get out.